Also unfolding today, President Cyril Ramaphosa has filed papers to force the suspension of the Public Protector's remedial action against him. It relates to his CR17 campaign and that controversial R500,000 donation from Bosasa. Ramaphosa says the Public Protector has not set out why she believes that there is a suspicion of money laundering. In fact, to go through the President's affidavit, joining me now is editorial contributor Karen Moore. Karen, good evening. Not a very lengthy set of papers by the President, but much of it really sticking to law here on some of the factual issues that he thinks the Public Protector simply did not get right. Let's talk about part one and part B of part A rather than part B of his submission.
Well, essentially what he's done is he's brought a part A to get an interdict to suspend the implementation of the remedial action. Of course, pivotal to that remedial action is this order that he be forced to disclose his campaign funders in the CR17 campaign, and that be suspended pending his substantive review of the Public Protector's report on that 500,000 donation, which is kind of amorphized into something quite bigger about essentially who funded him during his election campaign and the consequences of that funding on him potentially having a conflict of interest. What's interesting is that he's hoping for this case to be heard on the 12th of August, so it's going to be very soon, it's a Monday. But he's also saying to the court, please can we decide this review as soon as possible, because it's highly undesirable for the head of state in a country which is going through the political, the kind of economic situation that South Africa is, where we're trying to attract direct foreign investment, to have a head of state with a cloud hanging over his head. So he's actually appealed directly to the court to hear this matter as soon as possible.
Interesting. No mention of any kind of political interference or political motivation that the President mentions in his court papers. He, however, on the case of law, seems to think that Mkhwabane simply got it wrong in her findings and how she even came to those determinations. Speak to us about some of the key things there that he's raised.
I think the most sort of political, inverted commas, statement that he makes is that it's just not tenable to have a public protector. A public protector has to act in the best interest of the democracy and not raise false alarm about the head of state. That's as far as he goes. He's very different from the sort of approach taken by Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, who went on a full-on offensive and basically made a number of assertions about the allegedly the political motivations behind Mkhwabane's reports against him. You are absolutely right. The President is raising several issues which suggest that he has grave concerns, I think that's the term that he uses, around the competence of the Public Protector, that she misconstrues the laws around corruption and money laundering, that in fact her finding around money laundering is actually made in relation to law that exists around corruption, that she got the act wrong, that she has overextended her powers and illegally and unlawfully extended the scope of her investigation, that the remedial action that she's ordered, for instance, that the National Prosecuting Authority must investigate, is simply incompetent. That's a word that is perforates the entire application. So this is really a full frontal attack on her competence, the legal basis for her findings, and he also says she got the facts wrong, that even the money and the amounts that she mentions are factually incorrect.
Karen, how important is this issue of the Public Protector making sure that those that have been implicated access a report? The President brings it up in his affidavit. We've seen several others that have taken the Public Protector's findings on review, saying we were not given an opportunity to respond to some of her final findings. Yeah. Meanwhile, they were quite different to what was raised in the provisional report, which they had seen.
Yeah, this issue of the ability of the person who's been implicated to engage with the remedial action has been raised a number of times. This is not the first time the President has raised it again. And he's also just, he's essentially saying that the report was released publicly without him having even seen it. We remember on the morning that it happened, there was this, very early morning announcement by the Public Protector, and then subsequently a few hours later, a press conference, and President Ramaphosa saying, at that stage, I didn't even know what was in that report. And it's unfortunate, is the word that he uses, to describe that issue. And I think that the court will have to deal with this, whether it's in this matter or some of the other reviews. What is the obligation? To A, engage on the remedial action, if it's as far, in what circumstances do you do that? Is it a prerequisite? And two, this issue of, at what stage does the person get access to the report? I think that, this kind of late handing over, I mean, their allegation, their response was we provided it, we brought it to the union buildings. But, there might be an anxiety around potential interdicts of reports that may have informed this somewhat haphazard approach. We just have to wait for the Public Protector's response.
All right. Well, that's where we leave it then for tonight. As you heard there from Karen, 12th of August, back in court. That's when this matter is most likely to be set down for, I think it's 2 weeks, second Monday from